Hey, what's up everybody? How you doing? Today we are putting an intake on the truck. So before I get going with that, I got to get some oil change, filters, fuel filters, all that stuff done. So let's do that real quick. Alright, first off we're going to do a little unboxing to see what's in here. I haven't looked this up. I haven't looked at any install videos online yet, so we're kind of going to be learning together. I guess this will be a good real life review of installing. So I just got this in the mail yesterday, I think. So let's see what we got. All right, right off the bat, we got packaging. Get all that out of there. Shouldn't be a whole lot to this. It's just a cold air intake. If anybody's installed these before, you know they're pretty basic. So first off, we got this monster intake pipe. Look at the size of that thing. Jesus, it's like the size of my head. So that's cool. Looks like we got to swap over some sensors. Got a couple spots there. Got a PVC or something there. I'm guessing that's into filter side, and that must go to turbo or something or other like that. It is a monster. That thing's huge. It's got the Banks logo on there. Pretty cool. Next, we got the housing, the filter housing, I guess you could call it. This kind of comes all together. You can see our filter is already inside there, but it's wrapped in plastic, so we got to pull that back out. See if we can do that right here. Oh yeah, that's a huge filter. Ooh, the big side is the filter side on that tube. All right, I take that back. This is pretty, I don't know, standard, I guess, for an intake. There's nothing special about it that I can tell right now. And our filter is massive. This thing is just a monster. So I'm not going to open this yet until we put it on, just because this is Nevada and it's very dusty and there's a lot of sand and stuff blowing around and it's windy today. So I want to keep things clean. Next, we got some more packaging to throw out. Another piece of packaging. And we got our little hardware baggy goodie bag here. Comes with all that. A whole bunch of random parts in there. A little tube, some clamps. Yeah, pretty standard stuff, right? Next, we got this clear Banks Ram Air logo deal that I believe that goes on the box, so you can actually see the air filter from the top, so you can actually kind of inspect it. Pretty cool. And last is the instruction booklet with the stickers and whatnot. So we'll definitely be using the instructions on this unit. And that's it. And this is what we're working with under the hood. This is all stock. This is the stock Ram intake. You can see it's got a little unit there. There's those two sensors. It looks like we got to swap over to the new one. And then this has the, I forget what they call it. Probably says it right there, active air. So it has a door in there that can change where the air is coming in from, whether it goes through the radiator or I guess it's just fresh air. Helps I think it helps the truck cool up, warm up quicker. All right, this is my first complaint already. They don't give you printed instructions. You have to use the QR code with your phone to pull up the instructions to install this thing. That's pretty dumb in my book. So someone like me who's using the camera or my phone as a camera, I can't just pull up the instructions because I'm filming. So I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to go inside, read the instructions on my computer, figure out how to do it. I don't think I need to follow step by step. It looks pretty basic. And then I'll show you what we do. So I just read through the instructions real quick just to make sure I don't miss nothing. So to start off with, you got to remove the entire stock housing. So you remove this 13mm bolt right here. This is your main hold down. And then second, you're going to remove the hose clamp that holds just the main section to the little downpipe deal we got going on here. And I'm sorry if the sound is kind of weird. I'm playing with a new microphone, one of these lapel mics, and I don't know how it's going to sound. So hopefully it doesn't sound too weird. Hopefully there's not rustling sounds from my clothes or this wind. It's really windy out here. Hopefully that's kind of getting cut down a little bit. So hopefully it sounds okay. You have to let me know. Next, we're going to take off these two connectors. So these can be kind of tricky sometimes, but this one here, you just push down on the little tab and then pull it out. Sometimes if you can't get the tab to push, it doesn't feel like it's moving, actually push the connector in deeper and then push it and then pull it back out. Next, we got to remove this one. This one has this red deal in here. This is kind of like a secondary lock mechanism to keep it from coming off. So we got to figure out how that comes out. The instructions are very clear on how it comes out. Basically, kind of just twist your screwdriver back and forth in there to get it to walk out. You can pull it out all the way. Sometimes they just come out a little bit and that's all you need. Set that aside, don't lose it because you'll need it. And then same way, this one has a little push tab. You're able to push it in, push it back out, just like that. Whew. A lot of dirt built up in there. Now, we got everything disconnected on top. There's a connector on the bottom we have to be careful with. Oh, looks like the wiring is actually attached to there, so you just kind of pop those off. Kind of lay that out of the side. Make sure nothing too hot up there. Pop this hose off. Now we're supposed to be able to just lift this entire thing straight up. Yep, just like that. Now, before you rip it all the way out, this actuator down here, this is the active air, ram air, whatever the heck they call it, deal. So, sorry, I'm kind of on the wrong side of the camera here. Try to look at the connector. See what kind of, there it goes, just like that. And it comes out almost completely. Yep, it's got a little push pin holding it on the back side too. All right, that was connected right there. All right, so next is to take the rest of this tubing off, this factory stuff. This kit goes all the way down right to the turbo, so we got to take it all the way down off at the bottom. We also have to disconnect the PCV tube that goes to it down there, which is a little tight, but I think we can do it. So let me reposition this camera. Looking down in there now, this is looking down the back side of the tube. So we're going to disconnect this spring clamp, which you just squeeze the other tabs on the bottom. You're just going to squeeze that with a pair of pliers and then walk it off, and then just work that tube or the hose off the metal line. And then if you look way down there, see if I can do it without blocking the camera. Oh yeah, right there on my middle finger, there's a hose clamp way down there. That's all the way at the right at the face of the turbo there, so we got to pop that off, and then we can pull this whole assembly out. All right, so I reached these pliers in here, sprung it off, moved it up instead of down, just because it's got little rubber nipples on the hose itself there that keep it from sliding down. So we'll just slide it up out of the way for now. Now this rubber hose is stuck on there real good. It's probably baked on from heat and whatnot. So let me show you what I use to get those off. So you get these large screwdriver handle hooks, and some of them have a curved hook, some are more straight. Have multiple ones, but for different angles. Basically, you just stick it in there. Try not to stab like that through the side of your tube. There you go. You just want to get it in there, and you can kind of just break the hose loose. Whew, that was a tight one. So we got that off. Now I got to get my screwdriver down there to loosen that lower hose clamp way down there. Okay, now we got that loose. Hopefully, let's see if it's loose enough. See if we can get this whole assembly off. Oh yeah, just like that. And lift it straight out. All right, so let's look at what we got off now. This is the stock intake tube that we got off. That was the turbo end that we did last. And then over here is the factory box. So we got it all off in assemblies. Now we got to start swapping over some parts from the new, to the old, from the old to the new. So I got the other piece sitting over there. I got stuff all over the place. It's kind of interesting looking at this. All the oil that's coming in right at the turbo, that's probably coming from the PCV. That's why a lot of people delete those things or they vent them to atmosphere and different things. All right, so we got to disassemble this unit. So obviously we have to swap over these two sensors. And then this is the actuator for the ram air deal. And then we also have to swap over the door and everything that's inside of there. This is probably the part that everybody knows. Take the lid off to expose the air filter. Curious how dirty this air filter is, because that was kind of one of the reasons I bought this whole replacement. It's because I'm pretty sure the air filter is due to be replaced. And I've driven through some straight sandstorms out here and whatnot. So instead of spending the ungodly amount for the factory air cleaner, why don't I just spend an even more ungodly amount and buy a whole Banks intake system? It makes perfect sense, right? All right, so you remove the screws, lift it up, slide it out. Oof, dirt on top. Oh, careful with those sensors. We need to use those. This is the stock air filter. Let's see how dirty it is. Oh yeah, she's pretty dirty. She's pretty filthy. She was due. So that exposes all the goodies that we need. Next is to swap over these goodies. That's interesting. According to the instructions, this is how you do it. This is a T30 Torx bit. So we're going to take the 4 screws off. And then if you'll notice, it doesn't just lift right off. So we actually have to go inside. See if you can get a good view of this. And we're supposed to be able to basically stick your screwdriver in between the door and the actuator and just kind of wiggle it off like that apparently, but it's not happening. Okay, there we go. Carefully just kind of stick it in there and give it a little twist. Try not to break the plastic because it looks kind of fragile. Well, we got most of it off. There we go. Okay, and that's what we got. So it has one flat side there. Almost kind of hook onto the edge there. Set that aside. Now we're supposed to be able to now disconnect this arm. I just went and read the instructions, and I just had to clarify something for myself. So obviously we're reusing the actuator. We're using this door. We're not reusing this door or this arm. This system here, on the Banks system, it's just the open hole on the filter. It doesn't use the door. It just uses the one door, which is just the way it's designed. So to do that, you have to carefully hold this as close to this joint as possible and pop that arm off. Now it says this arm is extremely fragile. That's like, it's real easy to break. Now, if you do break this arm, since we're not reusing the rod or anything, this lever, we're not reusing this, it doesn't affect anything if it does break. So technically, if you want to be quick, you could just cut it, be done. Not have to mess with this little ball joint here. It says the only thing that prevents is if you ever wanted to put it back to stock. Now you got a broken part that's not going to work. So I'm going to try and not break it. Let's see how it goes. Okay, that was about the easiest way you can do. Grab it with the pliers right at the end and just pull it straight out. Now, this we don't need. So that's all going to go aside. And this is the new unit. This thing is huge. We got to put this all back together now. Somehow. Some way. Keep coming up with funky. No. We're going to kind of wing this. I don't remember what the instructions said exactly. Obviously, this goes in like this. I'm just going to hold it. I'm not going to put the screws on quite yet. And then if you look down in the hole, you can see where the flat is. You can see where the flat is on the your shaft on the actuator. So you're just going to want to basically just stick it all back together. Just like that. Easy. Even gives you a nice little window over here. You can see how it goes all the way in. Now let's put our 4 screws back in. Alright, we got that in. Let's take another look. Kind of verify that the door doesn't look like it's going to hit anything. You can see it's kind of doing its thing where it's blocking that access. Okay. Next is to swap the sensors over and install the new PCV valve. And the old sensors have to come off of the old lid. Those are 7mm, just standard sockets. Okay, once you get those out, just gently pull them out. They should have an O-ring or something in there to kind of seal them in there tight. So that comes off. Probably just wipe that off before I put it back on. Here, I got a rag right here. I believe that one is the intake air temperature. You can see it's got a little bulb in there. Set that aside. And then this one, I believe, is the mass airflow. So we will carefully walk it out. Ooh, look at that guy. It's interesting. Now the kit comes with a new O-ring for this guy, which is, I find kind of strange why it comes with a new O-ring, but we will use it. So here's the new O-ring, and I noticed it also comes with 3 new screws for the sensors. If you'll notice, the old screws are like a plastic style. They're just threaded into plastic. The new ones are actually a machine screw, and it has little metal inserts in there. So definitely use the correct screws. To swap this O-ring over, I got a little pick. Just gonna carefully get up underneath it like that. Just kind of work it off around there. You can slide that off. Here's the new one. Slide it back on. Still not sure why they decided to put a new O-ring on there. It's kind of blow the dust off. Kind of random. And that's that. So let's put them back in now, because it doesn't come with an O-ring for that. So whatever. Just make sure the O-ring goes actually in the hole. Use your new screw. New screw. Goes in nice and cleanly. Okay. Just kind of make sure it's actually seated correctly by looking at it. Looks like it's good. Let's get this one. These are kind of dummy proof. You can't install them backwards just because of the spacing of the holes in the screws. So we put that one in nice and tight apparently. There we go. Give it a little twist. Seats in there. These are just regular Phillips screws. We got air filter. Dump that guy on like that. I'm not sure. We'll check the orientation on the truck just to see how the screws go. Yeah, orientation wise, I'm just going to put it kind of like at the bottom of the logo. And we'll see if that works out. I don't know if you can actually even access this once it's all installed, because you kind of have to put everything in at once. So we'll just see what happens. Feels pretty good. Next step, which I guess it should have told me to do earlier, but we do now, is to put the little inspection window on. Doesn't say which way. Let me double check. So put it facing, so you're reading it from the front of the truck. At least that's how I'm going to do it. I assume that's the right way. Now the kit comes with 4 screws. New screws for that. And then it also comes with Loctite. It says it's real important to use the Loctite on these. You're not going to crank these screws down super tight because it'll just probably break your plastic. So It's real important to use the Loctite so they don't come back out. Put some Loctite on the threads, blow the dirt off, drop it in the hole. That Loctite will be like glue. It'll just keep the screws from wanting to come back out on their own. There, looks good. Now, I believe the final step is, I forgot a step. I forgot to put, try to do this without knocking everything down. I forgot to put this PVC on. So you're supposed to put this on beforehand. Grab one of your new hose clamps. And we also have to put our new, I don't know, whatever you call that deal, little adapter. All right, we got everything ready to go now. So, what it wants me to do is you kind of pre-install this guy into here, like so. It just kind of sits in there, nothing crazy. And then we're going to take this entire assembly and drop it in. All right, coming in. Oof. It's a lot to hold on to. You kind of have to drop that end in first, obviously, and then work the rest of it down. Now, before it goes all the way in, we got to reconnect our actuator wiring. Just like that. Hear that nice affirmative snap. All right, so that's basically how it's going to be going in. So now we got to work those hoses on, tighten those clamps, and then just put this last screw in, and it's pretty much done. So I kind of took a lot of finagling around, just kind of making sure air filter was still seated in here decently, and then this hole has to line up. Now the last thing we got is to reconnect those two sensors that we did previously. So these are obviously kind of in a new location, but they seem to go just fine. Now the hard to get to one, you gotta remember I had this guy slid in through there, so that's gonna be kind of fun to get together. All right, install complete. We got everything in here. You can see the air cleaner sits nice and good into the housing there. We got everything connected down below. We got our sensors connected. That lower one is really difficult. I would suggest trying to put that on before you put the whole unit in. But that's it. She's ready to rock. All right, and here is our finished driving review. The sounds inside the cab are significantly louder. You hear the turbo whistle. See if I can get it going here for a little bit. Just on mild throttle. That's our exhaust brake. I'm not sure if you guys can really hear much picking up on this microphone, but yeah. And then just the general engine growl is quite a bit more when you're just accelerating. So we get into a good exhaust brake here in a second, and we'll show you how that sounds. And this will be our acceleration test. These cars get ahead of us a little bit. Yep, she sounds pretty good now.